Jai Shri Gurudev, welcome to all of you. Today I am going to explain about moving charges and magnetism, which is the fourth chapter of volume 1 of NCERT syllabus. In the name of the title, you can notice two terms here. One is charge and another one is magnetism. That means there must be some relation between magnetism and as well as charges. Certainly. First of all, let us know what is meant by magnetic field. Because we know that in nature different fields exist. Gravitational field, electromagnetic field, nuclear field, like this, even magnetic field also. In fact, Earth is surrounded completely by means of two fields. One is gravitational field and another one is magnetic field. But these fields are not visible to our eyes. Therefore, here, if I consider particularly the definition of magnetic field, which is represented by symbol B and arrow at the top, arrow indicates clearly that it is a vector quantity. What's the definition? Before going to the definition, suppose if I consider one magnet, say for example, I am going to consider one bar magnet. You can notice here a white color dot mark is made here. Usually any magnet will have two poles, north pole and south pole, because monopole magnets do not exist. Poles always exist in pairs. So the white color mark here indicates north pole and the other end where there is no mark indicates south pole. Then what is meant by magnetic field? The small space around this magnet within which we can experience its energy is nothing but magnetic field. I have written space around a magnet or even a current carrying conductor. Suppose if I consider one conductor, say for example I have now copper conductor in my hand. If I pass the current through this conductor, again in the region around this conductor at a small space, some energy, magnetic energy is experienced. That small space within which magnetic energy is experienced is called as magnetic field. So space around a magnet or a current carrying conductor within which magnetic energy means magnetic influence is experienced. Since the field is invisible, then how do you identify that there exists a magnetic field after passing the current through this conductor? Or how do you experience that how do you identify there exists a magnetic field around this bar magnet? All that we need to do is simply bring one magnetic needle close to this magnet. If the needle deflects from its initial position, that means if this is nothing but bar magnet, this is north pole and this is south pole. Just if you bring one tiny magnetic needle, if the needle from its initial position deflects in any one of the direction, either like this or like this, the deflection clearly indicates that there exists a magnetic field around this magnet within a small space. So, this is the definition of the magnetic field. Magnetic influence should be experienced within a small space. Then coming to magnetic effect. Remember, magnetic effect is one of the effects produced by the current. We know that current produces different effects. Heating effect, chemical effect, magnetic effect, mechanical effect. Now let us focus on magnetic effect of current. What is meant by this? Suppose if I pass current through a conductor. So this is a copper conductor which is in the form of copper rod. By passing the current, if magnetic field is produced all around this conductor, then we call this effect of current as magnetic effect. So when current is passed through a conductor or even through a coil of wire, no need to use always a conductor. Even I can use a circular coil of copper wire having several number of turns. If you pass the current through this coil, then in the region both inside the coil and outside the coil, magnetic field is produced. If field is produced, magnetic field is produced, then we call that effect as magnetic effect of current. Then we know that magnetic field is a vector quantity. Then how do you represent the direction of magnetic field pictorially? See, by means of two simple figures, we can represent the direction of magnetic field. I have written two figures, a dot mark inside the circle and a cross mark inside the circle. What does this dot mark indicates? It indicates that magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane. Which is the plane I am going to consider? Board itself is the plane. So to this plane, if the magnetic field is perpendicular and if it is directed outwards like this, means towards you, from the plane perpendicular to it, if it is directed outwards like this, then represent that direction of magnetic field by means of this figure. Suppose if the field is directed away from you, once again perpendicular to the plane of the board, means like this towards the board, then represent that direction of magnetic field by means of cross mark. It is very simple to remember or identify. Field perpendicular to the plane, directed outwards. Field once again perpendicular to the plane, directed inwards. This should be the figure. Then this is the simple way of representing the direction of magnetic field by means of figures. Then, is there any rule to find the direction of magnetic field? There are too many rules. Now let us consider one of the simplest rule to identify the direction of magnetic field. Suppose if I consider a conductor and if I pass this straight conductor, I am going to pass the current through it. As an example, I am going to imagine now this itself as a conductor. My pen itself can be imagined for time being as a conductor. Okay. Now, hold the conductor by means of your right hand. That means grip it by means of your right hand. How? Say for example, like this. I am going to hold like this. Okay. Now you can see, thumb finger represents the direction of current flowing through this conductor. That means through this conductor current is flowing upwards. Then the fingers clasping or curling gives the direction of magnetic field. Fingers are clasping like this or curling like this. That gives the direction of magnetic field. So just apply this to this diagram. Thumb finger, direction of current. Then fingers clasping like this gives the direction of magnetic field. So I represent the magnetic field around the straight conductor by means of a concentric circle. This concentric circle is also represent the field line. Generally, how will be the field line? All around a straight conductor means the field line will be in the form of concentric loops or circle. If you pass the current all around this conductor, the magnetic field line will be in the form of concentric circles or loops. So, in this figure, current flows upwards, then the fingers like this, clasping finger gives the direction of magnetic field. Okay. Now, I want to find the direction of magnetic field at a different portion, at different points of the conductor. Say for example, at this point, front side, this side, this side, this side. Then how do you look at the direction of magnetic field in the simplest manner? Simply at the point where you need the magnetic field, draw one tangent. If I need to find the field here, I draw the tangent like this. Again, if I want to find the magnetic field direction here, I am going to draw the tangent like this. Remember, tangent should be drawn in the direction, curling direction of the fingers. So this is the curling direction, all along which I have written B, which indicates also the magnetic field direction. So, say for example this point, corresponding to this is the point. At this point, I need to find the field, draw the tangent. So the tangent drawn gives the direction of magnetic field. I need to find the field at this point. In this figure, let this point represent. At this point, what will be the field direction? Like this. Now I want to find the direction of magnetic field at the back of the conductor. In this figure, let us choose that point here. So here I draw the tangent. Again, at this point, say for example here, what's the direction of magnetic field? So this is the direction of magnetic field. So this is how we represent the direction of magnetic field at different points all around a straight conductor. This clearly shows that the magnetic field direction at different points around this conductor, say for example at this point, at this point, at this point, at this point, at this point. At all this point, the field direction is not one and the same. It continuously changes from point to point, like this, like this, like this, like this. So the key point to be remembered here is, whenever we pass the current through a straight conductor, in the region around this conductor, to find the direction of magnetic field, apply right hand clasp rule. It is applied to find the field in case of straight conductor carrying current. Another point is, all around this conductor, at different points the direction of field is different, which can be represented by means of drawing the tangent. And third point is, whenever you pass the current through a straight conductor, in the region around the conductor, how will be the magnetic field pattern? Means the magnetic field pattern will be like this. It will be in the form of concentric loops or circles. So remember these three key points with respect to a straight conductor through which some current is flowing. So here what I have done in the next figure, just I have reversed the current direction. That means in this case, current used to flow upwards, whereas in this case, current is flowing downwards. Now let us reverse like this. I am going to reverse like this. Thumb finger represents the direction of current, which is downwards. Fingers are clasping like this. So the clasping finger gives the direction of magnetic field. In this case, finger used to clasp like this because current is said to be flowing upwards. Whereas in this case, current is flowing downwards, therefore the fingers are clasping like this. All along the clasping direction, I have written the magnetic field direction. Again, in this case also at different points, say for example at this point, also at this point. If I want to find the field direction, all that I am going to do is draw the tangent like this, like this, like this. The tangent drawn gives the direction of magnetic field. Okay, so apply like this. I am going to hold like this. Thumb finger in the direction of current. Fingers are said to be curling like this. Okay, at different points. Say for example at this point, tangent is drawn like this. At back side, tangent is drawn like this. At this point, tangent is drawn like this. This point, tangent like this. This point, tangent like this. At this point, tangent like this. So this is the method used to find the direction of the magnetic field due to a straight conductor. Now in the beginning, I said that there must be some relation between the charge and as well as magnetism. Of course, because what is the source of magnetic field? How magnetic field is produced? Magnetic field is produced because of moving charge. Remember, there are two types of electric charges. One is positive charge known as proton and another one is negative charge known as electron. Suppose If I consider a charge Q, usually charge is represented by means of a symbol or letter Q, either small q or capital Q. A static charge means charge which is at rest, always produces around it in a small region. Around this charge in a small region, always there will be electric field. When Q is at rest. Suppose if the same charge is set into motion, that means if the charge Q moves like this, then in addition to electric field, the moving charge also going to produce the magnetic field. Okay? If it is set into motion, in addition to electric field, this moving charge is going to produce magnetic field. So, moving charge is the source of magnetic field. If the charge is at rest, only electric field is produced. If it is set into motion, then both electric field and magnetic fields are produced. That is why the title of the chapter includes two terms. One is charge, moving charge, and another one is magnetism. So there is a connection or relation between a moving charge and as well as magnetism or magnetic field. Then suppose if I make the charge to enter into either electric field or magnetic field. Okay. Here I am going to consider the motion of the charged particle, any charge, either positive charge or negative charge, in electric field. In this figure, I am considering the motion of the charge in the magnetic field B. Okay. Here, force on a charged particle. I make the charge Q to enter into this electric field. This is nothing but uniform electric field. How do you represent the electric field or magnetic field pictorially? Means in terms of diagram. Because electric field and magnetic field are invisible to us. But still we can represent that in the form of a diagram. Already we have represented that in this case in the form of concentric lines or circles. Similarly, if I want to represent an uniform electric field or magnetic field, how do you represent it? Once again, we have one simple diagram to remember. Suppose if I write the arrows like this, straight lines with arrowhead parallel to each other, then this represents uniform field. It may be either electric field or magnetic field. So it is very clear from this diagram that invisible electric field or magnetic field can be represented by means of a simple diagram like this, parallel lines. Suppose if I want to represent non-uniform field, there are different ways of representing non-uniform electric field and as well as magnetic field that you are going to study in the forthcoming chapter. You are going to study about the magnetic field lines, and also in some other chapters, say for example in electrostatics, you are going to study about the field lines related to electric field. For time being, let us consider only the uniform electric field and non-uniform electric field. This is uniform and this is how I represent non-uniform field. What's the difference between these two figures? Here the space between any two lines remains same, constant. It's not going to change. Here the space between the lines continuously what happens? Changes. Look here, the space goes on increasing. Again the space between these two lines goes on increasing. Therefore, this represents non-uniform field, which may be electric field or magnetic field. So represent non-uniform field like this, where the space between any two lines do not remain constant, whereas in case of uniform field, the space between two lines always remains constant. Now coming to this, so this is nothing but the points connected to right hand clasp rule, already explained. That means thumb finger represents the direction of current, fingers clasping gives the direction of magnetic field. Force acting on a charged particle, either positively charged or negatively charged. Remember, charges are invisible, and also the fields produced, respective field produced by them are also invisible, but still we can represent that invisible field in the form of a diagram like this. I make a charge q to enter into uniform electric field with a certain velocity. So let V be the velocity in which this charged particle is entering into the electric field. Now what's the force acting on this charged particle? The force acting on this charged particle is nothing but Fe. E stands for electric field. It is given by product of charge and the electric field. So clearly it indicates that whenever charge moves in a field, we know that moving charge always produces magnetic field. Now there will be interaction between the magnetic field produced by moving charge and also the uniform electric field. As a result of interaction of these two fields, force will act on the charge. What is that force means is given by Q into E, magnitude of the charge and magnitude of electric field. But here I have written here in the form of vector. Okay. What's the direction of the force? Suppose if it is a positive charge, then the direction of the force will be all along the direction of electric field. Suppose if it is a negative charge, then the direction of the force will be opposite to electric field. So this is how we identify the direction of the force. So charge moves always along straight line path in case of electric field. Similarly, if I consider uniform magnetic field, now if I make the charge q to enter into this uniform magnetic field, it's going to cross the magnetic lines of force. Okay. So as an example now, let us imagine this as a charge. Okay. I make this charge q to enter into this magnetic field. Now this charge is going to cut the magnetic lines of force with a velocity v, making an angle theta with the direction of the magnetic field. In this case, what's the force acting on this charged particle means? It is given by Fb. B stands for magnetic field. Force acting on this charge when it enters into the magnetic field with a velocity v is given by Fb equal to Q into V cross B, cross product of two vectors. This we have studied in first PUC. That means in first PUC we studied about two concepts related to vectors. That means too many concepts we have studied, but let us consider importantly two concepts. That means if you multiply any two vectors, then the resulting quantity may be once again a vector or it may be a scalar. If the resulting quantity is a vector after multiplying two vector quantities, then we call that as vector product of two vectors. Vector product or cross product of two vectors. Whereas if you multiply two vector quantities, if the resulting quantity is a scalar instead of vector, then we represent that by means of scalar product or dot product of two vectors. Dot product of two vectors. Okay? So, let us write one simple mathematical equation. Vector A multiplied by vector B. So, cross product of two vectors. Okay, this is vector A and this is vector B. These two vectors are making certain angle with each other at the point O. Then, after multiplying two vectors, how do you express this in terms of vector product, or how do you express it mathematically? Magnitude of these two vectors, product of magnitude of these two vectors, that is AB into sin theta. AB into sin theta. So, product of magnitude of two vectors, that is vector A, magnitude is A, vector B, magnitude is B. If I remove the arrows, then it indicates vector quantities. Okay? Then theta is the angle between these two vectors. Then I can write one unit vector. N cap is the unit vector. Okay? Why unit vector is included here? To represent that it is a vector quantity. See, this is magnitude and this unit vector gives direction. So, magnitude and direction, totally it becomes a vector. For scalar product, how do you write? A cross B, A dot B, dot product. Here, this indicates cross product, this symbol, whereas this symbol indicates scalar product. So, this is cross or vector product, this is scalar or dot product, which is equal to A into B into cos theta. So, in this case, cos theta appears, whereas in this case, sin theta appears. So, the product of these two vectors is purely a scalar quantity. The product of these two vectors is nothing but a vector quantity. So, here I have used the cross product of two vectors. Suppose, now, if I combine both the forces together, that means if the charge particle moves in a combined field, combined means both electric and as well as magnetic field, then what is the net force that acts on that charge? The net force that acts on the charge is given by Lorentz force. We call that force as Lorentz force. Let us represent that Lorentz force. So, Lorentz force F equal to sum of force due to electric field plus force due to magnetic field. What is force due to electric field? Force due to electric field already we have written, it is nothing but Q into E. Force due to magnetic field already we have written that it is given by Q into V cross B. Okay. Now, pull out Q as a common term, Q, then E plus V cross B. So, this is nothing but the Lorentz force. So, Lorentz force is nothing but the total force or the sum of the force acting on the charged particle due to both electric field and as well as magnetic field. So, and this equation is known as Lorentz force equation. Lorentz force equation. Okay, now let us consider once again the direction of the force when the charged particle moves in magnetic field, because we already know that when a charged particle moves in an electric field, then the direction of the force due to electric field will be always along the direction of field. If it is positive charge particle, negative, it will be opposite. In this case, direction will be along field direction. It's very easy and simple. In case of magnetic field, look here, this is already, I explained this is the magnetic field. Once again you can notice here, though the magnetic lines are curved, but the space between any two lines remains constant. Therefore, we can consider this as a uniform field. Just because it is curved, you should not come to conclusion that it is non-uniform. What happens in case of non-uniform field? The space between any two lines do not remain constant. It continuously keeps varying. So, your space is not varying. So, if charge particle B moves like this with a velocity v, if a charge particle q, it moves with a velocity v like this in this magnetic field, then we know that the force on this is Fb, which is equal to q into v cross b. But what's the direction of this force? The direction of this force, if this charge particle q moves like this, then the direction of the force acting on this charge particle is found to be perpendicular. Perpendicular to what? Perpendicular to both B and as well as V. Suppose if you imagine these two fingers, one representing the magnetic field, this is magnetic field, and this represents the velocity, this is the charge. Now the charge is going to enter like this. The charge is going to enter like this all along this finger direction with the velocity v. Then what is the force acting on this charge? So what is the force acting on this charge means? The force acting on this charge will be upwards like this. That means it is perpendicular to B and it is also perpendicular to V. Perpendicular to B, perpendicular to V, and it is also the same force. Alright, one more simple diagram. Force due to magnetic field is also perpendicular to the plane. This is the plane, horizontal plane I am considering. This is the plane over which magnetic field and velocity are there. Then the force is not only perpendicular to B, and this force is not only perpendicular to V, it is also perpendicular to the plane containing both B and V. This is the plane. My hand itself is considered here as a plane consisting of B and as well as V. So to this plane the force acts perpendicular. So I can say like this, Fb act perpendicular to both B and V, also perpendicular to the plane containing B and V. Plane containing B and V. So this is how we find the direction of the force acting on a charged particle when it is moving in a magnetic field. Here it will be all along the field direction. So don't forget to identify the direction of the force, which plays an important role while solving numerical examples. Now let us move on to another concept, that is force acting on a current carrying conductor when kept in an uniform magnetic field. That means I am going to keep one conductor like this. Imagine my pen itself as a conductor. Okay. I am going to keep the conductor in this uniform magnetic field, and I pass the current through this conductor, pass the current in any direction, either upwards or downwards. In this case, I am passing the current upwards. So what happens? If I keep a current carrying conductor in this uniform magnetic field, then certainly some force will act on this conductor. What is that force? Let us derive one expression for the magnitude of the force acting on the conductor carrying current kept in an uniform magnetic field. Consider like this: L is the length of the conductor, A is the area of cross section. See, this is nothing but area of cross section, whereas this area gives surface area, a small one, in which we can see, if you imagine this as a conductor, this small area is considered as area of cross section, and length L. B is the uniform magnetic field. Then Vd, drift velocity of free electron. What does it mean? Suppose if I consider a conductor like this, so this is the conductor, means a piece of wire, copper wire or copper rod, aluminum rod, whatever it may be. Only thing is it should be a metal. If I connect the two ends of the conductor to a cell or a battery, see, this is the symbol of circuit symbol of battery. So this is the wire or the conductor like this. Now the current is said to be flowing like this. Okay, current is said to be flowing like this, or else we shall change the direction of current to match with this figure. Let the current flow in upward direction through this conductor, because conventional current is always from positive side, that means positive terminal of the cell or a battery. So from negative terminal, electronic current, that means electron will flow, whereas from positive terminal, conventional current means flow of positive charges are taken. In fact, in metallic conductors there will be no flow of positive charge, but there will be flow of electrons. That is why flow of electron gives rise to electronic current, and we assume the flow of positive charge as conventional current. So current flows in the upward direction, and in case of metals plenty of free electrons are there. Therefore, let us consider this is one of the free electron. I represent that free electron by means of negative sign, because electrons are negatively charged. The velocity in which this electron inside the conductor, with whatever velocity the electrons move inside the conductor opposite to the current, that velocity is known as drift velocity. Velocity in which free electron inside the conductor moves opposite to the direction of current due to the electric field that is set up inside the conductor. Outside the conductor there will be magnetic field because of current, inside the conductor there will be electric field. So Vd is the drift velocity of free electrons. Then what about this theta? Theta is the angle between the direction of current and magnetic field. You can notice here, so theta is the angle between the direction of magnetic field and the direction of current. Now to derive the expression for the net force acting on this conductor, what I do means, I consider like this. Force acting on single electron inside the conductor. I assume one single electron. What is the force acting on it? It is given by F equal to Q into V cross B. Okay. So this will be the force acting on one single electron inside the conductor. Now I want to find the total force acting on all the electrons contained in this conductor. What I do means, I replace Q by minus E, because E is the charge of the electron. So charge of electron, okay, and I replace V by Vd, drift velocity. So what happens to this equation? F is equal to Q into Vd cross B. Okay. First, you find out the total number of electrons contained in this entire conductor. How do you find? Total number of electrons inside the conductor. Inside the conductor is given by F, capital F, equal to force acting on single electron, total number of electrons. First I will find out, let it be n, then we find a total force. Total number of electrons inside the conductor is represented by n, which is equal to n into V. What is this n? N is nothing but number of electrons per unit volume of the conductor. Okay. Suppose if this is the conductor in which I have considered in my explanation. If you imagine this to be made up of number of volumes, this is 1 unit volume, 1 unit volume, 1 unit volume, 1 unit volume. So, if you imagine this as the conductor, now I can consider this entire portion as equal to 1 unit volume. Entire length of this cap, I imagine this as equal to 1 unit volume. In this unit volume, how many electrons are there? That is represented by small n. Like this, in this entire conductor, there are too many unit volumes. Okay? So, in this entire conductor, there are too many unit volumes. Volume, another volume, another volume. I can divide this to be made up of number of unit volumes. So, 1 unit volume electrons multiplied by entire volume, total volume. So, V is the total volume of the conductor. Total volume of the conductor. So, if I substitute, then what do we get? Before substituting, I make one more small substitution to this V. That's nothing but N equal to N into A into L, because the total volume of the conductor is given by area of cross section of the conductor multiplied by length. Because the unit of volume is meter cube. So, dimension of volume is 3 in meter. So, here also, what is the dimension of A? The unit of A, meter square. What is the unit of length? Meter. Meter square into meter, meter cube. So, once again we get the dimension of a meter as equal to 3. Okay. So, volume can be replaced by area into length. Now, if I substitute in this equation, what do we get now? Let us substitute. Already we have substituted this N into V. For V we have substituted that as A into L. Now I consider the total force acting on the conductor is nothing but total force acting on all the electrons. I write that by capital F. Small f represents the force on single electron, whereas capital F represents the net force or total force acting on all the electrons or on the entire conductor. It is given by force acting on one electron multiplied by total number of electrons. What is the force acting on one single electron? It is Q into Vd cross B, but we have replaced Q by minus E. We have replaced Q by minus E. Look here. Q equal to E, so that I can replace this by minus E. So, minus E into Vd cross B into N. For N, what I can write here? N into AL. Let us rearrange the terms. Minus NALE, I take this to this side, into Vd cross B. I write like this. There is nothing wrong in writing like this. because all these terms are nothing but scalar quantities except this Vd, drift velocity, which is a vector quantity. So next what I do means I assume one equation for the current flowing through the conductor. There are various equations for the current which is expressed by means of different physical quantities. Say for example, I equal to Q by T, expression for current in terms of charge. I equal to V by R, expression for current in terms of potential difference or voltage and resistance of the conductor. All these you are going to study in current electricity chapter. For time being, let us focus on this equation, I equal to NAE into VD. See, this is the expression for the current flowing through the conductor in terms of drift velocity. Next what I do means I multiply this by L, then NAEVD into L. I want to convert this into vector, so I into vector L. This is equal to NAEVD, NAE, I take this L inside VD. So what I have done is, here I have represented the vector L as a vector, whereas in this case I transfer that vector to velocity, because on left hand side if vector quantity is there, right hand side vector quantity must be there. So here arrow is put to L, whereas here arrow is put to Vd to represent that as a vector quantity. So likewise I can balance the vector quantities on both sides of the equation. What does this I into L represent? I into L represent the current element. Current element. What is meant by current element? Small portion of the conductor. If you consider a small portion of the conductor, any small portion through which some current flows. If current is flowing through this small portion can be considered as current element. Here I have taken this entire length as a current element, which is a vector quantity. Since current element is a vector quantity, then what is its direction? The direction of current element is all along the direction of current. Okay? But vector quantity, that is current element, vector quantity whose direction is along the direction of current, and drift velocity, which is also a vector quantity, both are in the opposite direction. That means if Vd is downwards, then current element vector will be upwards, because product of I and L is nothing but current element. So this current element direction will be upwards like this, I into L, whereas drift velocity is downwards, opposite to current element. Therefore, what I do means, since current element and drift velocity are in the opposite direction, I use negative sign to represent that opposite direction. So what happens to this equation now? What the equation I am going to consider now? The equation in which I am going to consider here is this one. Let us call this as equation 1. What happens to the equation 1? Here in equation 1, I can substitute for minus NALE into VD. For this entire terms, I can substitute that as I into L. So let us write that. Equation 1 becomes now. Equation 1 becomes, what happens to equation 1 now? F equal to, what is minus NALE into VD? It is nothing but I into L cross. I into vector L cross B. So for this entire thing, I have substituted the vector element, that is product of current and length. Let us put a bracket. This is the force acting on a straight conductor kept in an uniform magnetic field. Okay? So which is nothing but cross product of L and B. Cross product of L and B. If I write its magnitude, instead of writing this in vector form, What is magnitude of this force F? Magnitude is represented by F without arrow, which is equal to I into what is cross product of two vectors? Product of magnitude of the two vectors and sine of the angle between the two vectors. So this is the magnitude of the force acting on the conductor. This is the force on the conductor in vector form. Then when will be the force acting on the conductor maximum and minimum? The force acting on the conductor is maximum. Suppose these are all nothing but special cases. If I consider special cases, then if theta is equal to 0 degree, what does it mean? To this magnetic field, I am going to keep the conductor parallel like this. This is nothing but current I. This is nothing but uniform magnetic field. If the conductor is kept parallel to the magnetic field, then in this case, angle between the direction of magnetic field and the current or the conductor is 0, because both are parallel. B is like this, I is also like this. I is all along the length of the conductor. Therefore, in this case, theta equal to 0 degree. So, if that's the case, then what happens to this equation now? Therefore, F equal to B into I into L into sine 0. So, F equal to 0 minimum means I have no force act on this conductor if it is kept parallel to the magnetic field. This is one special case. What is another special case? Suppose if theta is equal to 90 degree, that means in this case I keep the conductor perpendicular to the magnetic field and I is the current. You can notice here the direction of current and the magnetic field making an angle of 90 degree with each other. Therefore, what happens to this equation now? Therefore, F becomes equal to I into L into B into sine. In place of theta, I substitute 90. What is sine 90? Sine 90 equal to 1. So, F equal to I into L into B. This force is nothing but maximum force. So, whenever trigonometric function in any equation vanishes, here trigonometric function is on right hand side. So, the vanishing or disappearance of this trigonometric function is going to increase the value of the term on left hand side. F is the term on the left hand side, then whole sine 90 becomes equal to 1. So, sine 90 disappeared. Therefore, F equal to I into L into B, maximum force act on the conductor. So, if you keep the conductor exactly perpendicular like this, exactly perpendicular, then maximum force will act on it. If you keep parallel to it, then no force is going to act. Simply current will be flowing through the conductor and conductor will be resting in the magnetic field without experiencing any force. Whereas if you keep perpendicular to it or at certain angle to magnetic field, then some force will act on the conductor, and that force is found to be maximum only when the conductor is perpendicular to the magnetic field. How do you find the direction of this force acting on the conductor? Use one simple rule again, that's nothing but the Fleming's left hand rule or motor rule. Okay, so this rule is used to find the direction of force acting on a conductor carrying current when kept in the magnetic field. See, this is the magnetic field B. Forefinger represents the direction of magnetic field. Okay, through this conductor, I am going to pass the current like this. Say for example downwards. This is the current direction. This is nothing but middle finger. Okay, look here, forefinger is the current of magnetic field. Middle finger represents the direction of current. That means I kept the conductor in this magnetic field like this and I have passed the current like this. I am passing the current in downward direction. Let us remove this cap so that it becomes very clear. So, the current is said to be flowing downwards through this conductor. So, it is all along the middle finger direction. Whereas, this forefinger represents the direction of magnetic field. Now stretch the thumb finger. Thumb finger is stretched in the outward direction. Therefore, the thumb finger which is stretched out gives the direction of force acting on the conductor. That means on this conductor, the force acts all along the thumb finger. That means it will be towards you. Once again, magnetic field, forefinger. This is conductor through which current is flowing along middle finger direction. Stretch the thumb finger, which indicates the direction of force. Now the force is said to be towards you. So certainly conductor is going to move towards you. So this is how we represent the direction of force. So this is the rule that is applied to this situation to find the direction of the force acting on this. Okay. Suppose if you reverse the current, then reverse the fingers of your left hand. Don't change your hand, because the name indicates that it is a left hand rule. Also motor rule. Why it is also called as motor rule? Because all electric motor works based on this. The working principle of electric motor involves this also. So that is why it also known as motor rule. Suppose if the current is flowing in upward direction, instead of making the current to flow downwards, now I am going to change the direction of current. Once again, no changes in the fingers. Forefinger represents once again the magnetic field. Middle finger represents the direction of current. Stretch the thumb finger. Thumb finger represents the direction of force. That means in this case, force on the conductor acts all along thumb finger. That means it is towards the board. Previously, it is away from the board for the current flowing in downward direction. Suppose if the current flows in the upward direction, reverse the fingers. Now the force acting on the conductor will be away from you. So this is how you have to apply the rule to find the direction of force acting on the conductor. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.